You my co-pilot. You got my
Hello.
Hi, you ready?
How are y'all doing? Good. So we have a fun topic tonight. Our topic tonight is turn on and sex appeal. You know, I can't think of a more sizzly topic than that.
Yes, and this evening is very special and unique because it is both a session of Mastery of Relationship, which is one of our advanced programs, and welcome, you two, you're starting tonight. And then also it's an open session, it's a meetup. So many of you are here, you're new, you're meeting us for the first time, and we want to welcome you. So let's say a little bit about ourselves, there's so many new people here.
Combined, we've been teaching people romance for 40 years, you know. I've been doing it for 25. I used to teach transformational courses that were, for a large organization that were not romantically focused. And one of the things I learned was that being part of that being awake part really was the essence and the cornerstone of all of it. And then I got into romance, and man, it's just been a crazy ride.
Mm-hmm. So the house that Erwan lived in was like out of the 70s, okay? It was like mauve carpeting and like wood paneling on the walls and mirrors like everywhere. I mean, I went into, there was a bedroom where there were mirrors on the ceiling.
That was Ray's room.
Yes, that was Ray's room. Ray, I will tell you about in a minute. So I go over to Erwan's. This is like the second time I'd been there or something. I was kind of nervous because like there was a lot going on in this house. And so I would drive to his house from North Berkeley all the way to Brisbane. And like when I crossed the bridge, I would feel it. I'm like, oh my God. I would start to feel like excited and kind of high. And wow, I was about to go have a good time. And I show up and I knock on the door and nobody answers. And I'm like, oh God, I felt awkward. So I go around to the garage and it's open. And I walk in and there's this 84-year-old man. I didn't know 84, but he looks 84. He's 84 doing his laundry in the garage. And this is Ray. So this is Ray, one of the people that Erwan learned from. And he was like tall with white hair and had this long white robe. He like looked like God, you know, or whatever, that image of God.
He often wore only white or only black.
Yeah, he was really out there. And I mean, talk about, so this was an interesting piece. So I look at him and I was like, wow, he kind of has sex appeal. Tonight is about sex appeal. And like, you know, we have these stereotypes in our minds, and we reach a certain age and we don't have sex appeal or something. No, this man, he had it. And I was like, is Erwan here? And he was like, hey, honey. And I was like, hi. And he was like, oh yeah, go on in. And I like hear moaning from one room and like laughing in another room. And there's people like in a hot tub outside. And I was like, okay. So I start like moving through the house. And I'm like, where is this from again? And I go upstairs. And this woman comes out from another room and was like, I feel so good. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, I think this is Erwan's room. And I knock on his door. And he opens it. And he's like, hello, I'm so glad to see you. And oh my God, the women in this house have been coming all day. And like, what's that? And I was like, cool, awesome, you know? And it was like outside my box. You know, it was, I love sex. And it was like outside of my box, what was happening. But the thing that I loved was the energy. It was like bright and warm. And people were happy and like communicating and hanging out. And it was having the experience of being with Erwan at that time and experiencing that community of people where I learned what sex appeal really is, you know, like what turn on is, what it can be, like the possibility for all of us. So I love sharing that story because it's a lot about what we're talking about tonight.
Flirting, one of the easiest ways to address it or get into that territory of sex appeal and that kind of thing is to have something to talk about, some content. Hey, wow, you look great. I could talk about that all day. To talk about things that move things forward instead of things that move things backwards, right? Like what would move things backwards?
Politics.
Politics, right?
Politics, exactly.
5-letter T words.
That's it?
5-letter T words.
Five-letter T words.
You know?
Oh, right.
Oh, right,
the
right,
big
right.
5-letter T word, yes.
So we're already
right about that.
So we talk about politics and we're done, right? So what conversation content is going to have the desired effect?
Talking about the one you're with.
Yes, talking about the one you're with. Yes.
Possibilities.
Possibilities, right? It's got a certain feeling. Being playful. And in terms of content, right, specifically her in the interaction is the most illuminating, turned on content if you can talk about that directly or indirectly. Even I say it adds a certain something. So anyway, content is very important. I'm reviewing last week really quickly. But the essence of flirting really is physical escalation, right? If I go very close to Alicia here, and we're like constantly in a demonstration, the physical escalation increases, right? So physical escalation is really the act of flirting. It's the act of really getting with someone sensually. We don't want to have the thought of it, we want to actually do it. We can be very deliberate in our interactions that we're physically escalating them instead of, not physically escalating them, right? So touching is probably the most obvious way. If you want to get with somebody, touch them, but touch them in a way that, don't touch and, touch and release and play and light and slow and gradual and like that. And almost anybody will move forward sensually if you physically escalate it at a good pace. That they can metabolize it and feel it and deal with it, right? Pitfall number one to avoid is mashing. Okay, when you're flirting, if you mash, if you come on too strong, it's repulsive. Okay? But the truth is, most people don't err on that side. Most people err on the other side, lurking, being interested but not acting. Being interested in somebody at a cafe but not saying anything and like occasionally glancing at them or something like that. But that even gets instilled into relationships. Like people kind of actually want to do something, but like they, it becomes hard to do it. It's the opposite of mashing. It's like being too distant. Right? And then the third one is short-circuiting. Right? When flirting happens and physical escalation happens, and there's that much sensation in the body, we're going to get to what turn on really is, but the body is feeling it that much, it tends to be very reactivating for people. So people will often blow out or short circuit or stop feeling or go numb or, that kind of thing. And the sort of ultimate of that is like, you're with somebody and you're turned on, but you're paralyzed or don't know what to do or don't know what to say or there's a problem functioning or acting. It's also very common, but there's ways around that, ways you can really deal with that. As I said that last one, I saw everybody going, ah. Right. So the bottom line way to deal with that, there's two. The long term is like you feel through all the issues. And the short term is you bring enough intention, real will, real intention to any particular flirtation, and you can sort of almost power yourself through because it matters that much. Kind of the way like a wedding. People generally are at their best. They sort of like really bring themselves forth.
Tonight's all about getting turned on and sex appeal and what that is. So I'm going to start by saying that getting turned on is a function of two things. The first one, we've tried to make very easy for you tonight. It is getting into your senses. So like experiencing your senses. Like tonight we really wanted you to be in your senses, so we've lit candles and we have chocolates and berries around and good smells and nice music and things like that. You can be deliberate about this and get yourself turned on, or somebody else.
You got me, and I got you. Co-pilot, so ride together, fly together.
So, sex appeal. So what is it? It is your ability to turn someone else on. That's what it is. I mean, it's like, okay, being turned on is being in your senses and then having that polarity, that sexy, that opposites. I mean, like I told you, Ray had sex appeal. He was very in his senses and in his body, and he was aware of the masculine-feminine dynamic that's going on all the time, and he engaged me in that. He had that. All of us have the opportunity to have that, which is really awesome. So we could say that turn on is bodily sexual chemistry. That's what it is. And we all have it. And I want to show you something. So Erwan and I were at this party a few weeks ago, and he was just so awesome because he was taking all these videos of me, and I had so much fun. He was just paying attention to me, and I was like, la, and we put together this cool little thing. And this is like the ultimate, the epitome of being turned on and experiencing the senses and focusing your attention on the opposite gender orientation.
When I hit the road, she the one that I fly with. Had a lot of girls, but damn, she the flyest. Together we stunt, and not to mention she the only one that I trust. I thought you should know, you my ride or die, so we got each other's back. Stunting on our enemies, riding through sack. Hey, you the flyest in the fucking world. When we link up, we the flyest in the universe. Together, we stunt together, count money together in any weather. It's in the streets or getting
Amazing party, yeah. I mean, look at that venue, Jesus.
Yeah.
But like, you know, putting attention in that place, you know,
Yeah.
that's a very good place to put attention.
Yeah, so that's one thing that affects your turn on. Your bodily sexual chemistry is like, you know, your senses and the opposite gender orientation, the polarity and the sex and the There's this other thing that really affects our bodily sexual chemistry as women that we don't often actually think about. So I'm going to tell you about that now, which are cycles. Like cycles of our heat, our turn on in our bodies. And a lot of things affect this. So first of all, the moon cycles, you know, our menstruation cycles. So when we're heading towards ovulation, the energy in our body like increases, you know, and then sometimes we think, oh, this is PMS and I have to eat a lot and whatever to get it to just tamp down. But really, if we feel it, it's sexual energy. And then it goes down and then goes back up right before we menstruate and then down again. And even when we're past the point where we're menstruating, this doesn't have as poignant of an effect in our bodies, but it's still there. So there's the moon cycles. There's the sun cycles, the seasons. So like in the spring, our turn on's super high, which makes sense. It's like warm and people are taking their clothes off and being outside and like the energy's out, new life. And then goes down a little in the summer and then up in the fall. Not as high as in the spring, but up. And then to the lowest point in the winter. So it's good to know that because A, we know what's going on with our body energy, and B, we can do something about it. I mean, we have done in the Mastery of Relationship the sexiest topics and series during the winter time. You know, we'll do demonstrations of extended orgasm, these sexy topics, because we know, okay, winter's kind of low, let's pump up our turn on deliberately, right? So there's the moon cycles, there's the sun cycles, and then there's situations. Like we can just be in a situation that turns us on, like around a bunch of other women that are turned on, like we're all at a party, or something like a place that's stimulating our senses. Like Erwan likes to take me to Blowfish Sushi around the corner, and it's got these like red velvet walls and all these like fancy types of sushi, and it's like, ooh, I'm in a situation where I'm turned on. And then finally, volitional, turn on. Like we as human beings can just decide to be turned on. The other day in romance coaching, we were joking about this because I had just said, you know, so in the dead of winter, you're not going to be as turned on, right? And he's like, yeah, when it's 40 below, like you're just not going to be turned on. And then I remembered when we were talking about volitional turn on, like because of how our brains are, we can just turn ourselves on whenever we want. There was a woman who we worked with, and she was single when she came in to work with us, and she really, really wanted a relationship. And she learned all these skills. And then she was like a hiker and a nature person, and she was out in the dead of winter in Yosemite hiking with all her gear. It was like layers and layers and like goggles and like a helmet even or something. And she freaking met her now husband on the freaking trail. There was no one else around. It was just them and the 40 below weather. So it can happen even in the dead of winter because we can make it happen. So that's another thing to be aware of. What affects our turn on is our bodily chemistry. So now, people often come and they're like, well, how do I handle things about myself that I don't think are sexy? Like we all have things about ourselves that like aren't sexy, either because we don't fit some cultural norm, or because it's something about ourselves that we don't like as much or something. Maybe we're like secretly kind of a sloppy person. Or maybe we can just have a habit of like getting harsh when we get triggered, or maybe we have a health issue or something. And we all contend with these things, and sometimes it can make us feel like, oh, I'm not so sexy. So all you have to do with those things that we all have as human beings, they don't have to be a roadblock. Have space for them, like really let them be there. Tell the truth about them, like not hide them. Like if you tend to be kind of like, oh, you get intense, you just say that. You don't hide it. And don't defend it.
Right.
Right? Right. So that's how to handle those things. They do not have to be a roadblock in your sexiness and in your turn on.
People often think they have to be different, to be sexy. It's really the opposite. Be yourself. Totally yourself, really right with yourself. Feeling your body, really, so that you have access to that turn on and like that. Anything physical, like breathing into your genitals, very effective. Anything physical, go for a jog, take a shower.
A cold shower.
A cold shower. In our yard, we have 2 clawfoot hot tubs that we fill daily, one with burning, scalding hot water, one with ice cold water, right? And then we go back and forth in them. It's very gets you into your body. So, and physical things, jogging, yoga is really meant to be that. If you can meditate and really meditate and quiet your mind, especially come into your body, right? All those kinds of things will be very effective. You can even create a ritual, of it. The same way Michael Phelps has a ritual of certain songs and music he listens to, he gets into a particular thing. Because you do want to get this being a human head, or it's not even a head, being a human thought form is huge. It's what we're undoing tonight. We're coming into the body. Right? So it's a huge issue, and the way to address it is do something physical, especially something fun, and something sexy is good. So if you can bring it into your genitals, it's really good.
The other night we had a demonstration of extended orgasm in this room. Some of you were there. And this woman comes up to me at the end, and I had never met her before. And she was hot. She was dressed up in lace. She just looked great and was feeling her body. I could just tell. And she's like, I want to talk to you because I feel like I'm not in touch with my sexuality. Now, that's a really common thing for women to feel and for all different reasons and everything. But this particular woman, it was just her mind telling her that, because I'm like, girl, I'm feeling you. You are probably the most in touch with your sexuality in this room.
Right.
I just declared that, and then she was like, oh, okay. Suddenly she was she was there. It's be in the body.
Hey, look, you my co-pilot. You got my back while I'm out here grinding.